The rain hammered down on the empty highway like 1,000 angry drums. Sarah gripped the steering wheel tighter as her windshield wipers fought against the downpour. In the back seat, little Emma hummed, softly clutching her worn teddy bear. It was nearly midnight, and they were driving home from Sarah's second job at the diner. Money was tight since the divorce, and every extra shift helped keep the lights on. That's when Sarah saw him. An elderly man in a dark suit stood alone on the side of the road. He held a briefcase above his head, trying uselessly to shield himself from the rain. His silver hair was plastered to his forehead, and even from a distance Sarah could see him shivering. Most people would have driven past. It was late, it was dangerous, and Sarah had her daughter to think about. But something in the way the old man stood there so defeated and lost tug at her heart. She thought of her own father who had passed away 3 years ago. What if someone had left him stranded like this? Sarah pulled the car over and rolled down her window. "Get in," she called out over the sound of the rain. "Let me take you home." The old man looked up, surprise washing over his weathered face. He hesitated for a moment, as if he couldn't believe someone had actually stopped. Then he hurried to the passenger side and climbed in, bringing with him the smell of rain and wet wool. "Thank you," he said, his voice shaking from cold or emotion, or both. "I'm Robert." "Sarah," she replied, offering a small smile. "This is my daughter, Emma." The little girl waved from the back seat, her innocent eyes curious about their unexpected passenger. Robert settled into his seat, water dripping from his clothes onto the floor. "I'm so sorry about this," he said. "I had a business meeting in the city, and my car broke down miles back. My phone died, and I've been walking for over an hour trying to find help." Sarah felt her heart squeeze with sympathy. "Where do you live?" "Riverside Estates. It's about 20 miles from here," Robert said apologetically. "I know it's far. I can pay you for the trouble." Sarah shook her head. "Don't worry about it. Everyone needs help sometimes." As they drove through the storm, Robert slowly warmed up. He began to talk, telling Sarah about his late wife, Margaret, who had passed away 2 years ago. "She was the love of my life," he said, staring out at the rain. "Everything feels empty without her." Sarah understood that kind of loss. She told Robert about her struggles as a single mother working 2 jobs to make ends meet. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm doing enough for Emma," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "You stopped for a stranger on a rainy night," Robert said gently. "That tells me you're teaching her the most important lesson of all, kindness." Emma had fallen asleep in the back seat by the time they reached Riverside Estates. Sarah had expected a modest home, but Robert directed her to a gated community. The houses here were magnificent, with manicured lawns and tall iron fences. "This one," Robert said, pointing to a sprawling estate at the end of the street. Sarah's eyes widened, but she said nothing. Robert turned to her before getting out. "Thank you, Sarah. You have no idea what your kindness means to me." He pulled out his wallet, but Sarah raised her hand. "Please," she said, "just pass it forward someday." Robert smiled, a knowing look in his eyes. Then he stepped out into the rain, grabbed his briefcase, and disappeared to the front door. Sarah drove home, thinking about the strange encounter. The next morning, Sarah woke to Emma shaking her shoulder. "Mommy, there's someone at the door." Still groggy, Sarah pulled on her robe and went to answer. Standing on her porch was a young man in a crisp suit, holding an envelope. "Are you Sarah Mitchell?" he asked. "Yes." He handed her the envelope. "This is from Mr. Robert Harrison." Sarah's hands trembled as she opened it. Inside was a check that made her gasp. $50,000. There was also a handwritten note. "Dear Sarah, last night you showed me that goodness still exists in this world. You didn't see a rich man or a poor man. You saw someone who needed help, and you helped without hesitation. I've spent the last 2 years drowning in grief, questioning everything. Your simple act of kindness reminded me why Margaret and I built our wealth to help others. This money is not charity. It's a thank you from one human being to another. Use it to build a better life for you and Emma. You deserve it. With gratitude, Robert. Tears streamed down Sarah's face. She thought about all the bills she could pay the better apartment they could move to the security she could finally give her daughter. But more than the money, what touched her most was being truly seen by someone. That afternoon, Sarah drove back to Riverside Estates with Emma. She rang Robert's doorbell, and when he answered, she gave him a hug. "You didn't have to do this," she said. "I know," Robert replied, "but I wanted to." They became friends after that. Robert became like a grandfather to Emma, and Sarah became the daughter he never had. He taught Emma about business and investing, ensuring she'd have opportunities he never did as a child. Sarah helped Robert rediscover joy, teaching him that life after loss could still hold meaning. Years later, when Emma graduated from college with a business degree paid for by Robert's generosity, she stood at the podium. "My mother taught me that kindness costs nothing, but means everything," she said. "And Robert taught me that gratitude multiplies when you share it." Sarah sat in the audience, remembering that rainy night. Sometimes she still couldn't believe how one decision to stop had changed everything. But deep down, she knew it wasn't really about the money. It was about two lonely people finding hope in each other on the darkest of nights. Robert, who sat beside Sarah, squeezed her hand. "Thank you," he whispered, "for saving me." Sarah squeezed back. "Thank you for seeing me." The rain had brought them together, but it was kindness that made them family.